Welcome to the Work, Wealth, and Travel podcast. I'm your host, Nicole, and this podcast is your guide to start creating a lifestyle by design. From entrepreneurship, money and finance, taxes and residencies, and everything in between, this show highlights the nuances of a true global citizen lifestyle. Let's dive in. James, welcome to the Work, Wealth, and Travel podcast. I am very much so looking forward to our discussion today, but before diving into it, I would love to hear a little bit more about you, your business, where you started, and then what that looks like for you today.
Yeah, super grateful to be here, by the way, Nicole. It's been a while, so it's nice to see your face again and glad to see that you're just doing the thing, and I think it's so cool. So I teach people how to build online businesses now. When I was out of high school, basically, going way back, I had two choices that my parents kind of showed me, which seemed like the only two options I had, which I had more. But my mom was like, go to college, get your AA, because then you can, when you decide you want to do something, then you can just go straight into your BA. You don't have to go into all the extra stuff, wait 2 years or whatever. I was like, that seems logical, but I despise school. I was a D student in school. Like, I was terrible. I had a really rough childhood, and that's just kind of what made me not care about a lot of things. It wasn't until a little bit later in my life. I was about 17 actually, so it's not like crazy later, but I got into personal development. So like after high school is when I really started caring about me and developing myself, which was a lifesaver. And my dad, the other option was that I could go into construction work, which is what he did for, 5-year apprenticeship, and I could be vested. I could always go back on that. And, I decided to go with that because I could start making money right away. He was doing like 6 figures and he had crazy good benefits. Fast forward a couple of years, I was like 21, 22 years old. I had crazy good benefits and was making about 6 figures, but I wasn't happy. I despised my job. I didn't want to go to college. And in construction, I realized like there has to be some other way that I could make money and make as much money, if not more, than I am in construction. Because like I had a good, wealthy-ish lifestyle to where I could support myself and whatnot, but it was just draining my time and my energy. And then I found out about coaching, and I loved personal development. So I was like, wait, you can get paid to like help people with this kind of stuff. They'll pay you money. Like, what? And I realized, well, you can make a lot of money doing this, and you can have time freedom. Like if you do it right, you don't have to be working all the time, which I didn't want to be. I wanted to be able to, go travel to places and whatnot, and still make that kind of money or good money. So like 6 figures plus, and it eventually evolved now to where like I help people make 6 figures plus in 20 hours or less per week. Like that's the goal that I work on with people, because that's what I think makes a great life. It's more than just working all the time. And when you are working, why not enjoy the work that you're doing? Like this is me working, and I thoroughly enjoy having cool conversations. So yeah, I found out about coaching, found out about a coaching certification where they were telling me about all this and realized I could have a business with this. So I got certified, and I was a spiritual life coach when I first started. And that just seemed like the most logical thing. And it definitely resonated, like what they were teaching and stuff, a lot of intuition and some different practices. Some of it was a little too woo-woo for me, but it was a great start, and it gave me tools and whatnot to start my business. And more importantly, like the courage and confidence to actually do it, which I think is really big. So I left construction, started coaching people, didn't really like life coaching. I felt like it was really broad. And when I found out that like I have to learn how to market myself, consistently, it seemed kind of difficult because like, why would you hire just a life coach? We hire specialists for different things. Like you help people become global citizens. Okay, what is that? And then they could see like that outcome a lot better. A life coach it was too general and too vague. So I wanted to be more of a specialist. As I got more mature in business, I ended up going into performance and productivity coaching because again, I was obsessed. Like, how do I work fewer hours? How do I not have to be working all the time? And I helped people with that. And I was working with entrepreneurs, coaches, some like salespeople and stuff like that, just to be more efficient because people's computers are messes and their inbox and all that kind of stuff. And that's where I learned about digital products. and how to create passive income. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is the gold mine. Like, this is the sweet spot. So I found some good mentors that were teaching me about this stuff. And I made about 6 online courses and didn't make any money from it. And I was trying all these different funnels and stuff. And I was obsessed with like, okay, this is the ticket to making money when you don't have to be working. And then I had a couple mentors, Ramit Sethi and Graham Cochran. And Graham actually learned from Ramit. So Ramit's like the ultimate senpai. But we, in studying from them, they taught me about customer research and like what business really is. And it's about understanding your audience, the person, the problem, and then solving the problem instead of like all the marketing tactics and funnels and all the things that I was just like randomly pursuing. It's just about solving problems, kind of automating a sales process, which made more sense to me. So I did the research, got to know people, and I created a productivity course called Peak Focus Academy that actually sold hands off. And I was doing, like 10K months in my business, but I always had to be on a sales call. And yeah, it was just like, how do I make money without actively having to work? And I woke up one day to seeing $200 on my laptop. And I'm like, oh my gosh, do I know this person? So I looked in to my computer, realized I had never met the person in my life. And I was like, oh, this sale came from making some YouTube videos about stuff I was passionate about productivity, some emails, and a page, like a sales page. That was it. And it just like worked for me. And then it was amazing, like Cloud9. And then it was about a few weeks later, I made another sale, but it was $300. There were 2 price options, like 2 tiers. And it just started to kind of snowball from there. And then I got really obsessed with the passive income. And I had some clients who were like, what are you working on? And I told them about it. And they're like, can you help me with that? Because there's a lot of coaches and people teaching stuff. And I was like, yeah, I guess, And then this one woman I worked with, she had never done anything like this, like not even online. She was petrified of even being on camera. I convinced her to start a YouTube channel, and her YouTube channel surpassed mine. She was getting hundreds or thousands of views on every single video, and it was driving traffic to her site. And when we launched her product, she ended up making $1,500 in the first like week or two. And I was just like, what? Like, it may not seem like a lot, but like that was her first time, her first try. And she was able to do that, which is amazing. And then I ended up working with more and more people. And I just kind of started the whole profit your knowledge thing. And that's where I am today.
That's so cool. What an amazing story. And thank you for going into a little bit more detail about what that really looked like behind the scenes. So I'm curious, in you working with clients and helping them to, structure the back end of their business so that they can make somewhat automated sales, what have you found in today's day and age, because things are always changing online, really is the best? And I know it can change, so it's a little bit subjective, but overall, what would you say is 1 or 2 of the best marketing channels where you can bring in new people? Does that look like YouTube, like you mentioned? Does that look like really having that incredible sales page with an upsell? Does it look like another social platform? I'm curious, from your point of view, what you have seen works really well for clients these days.
I love YouTube. But I've seen, it's kind of weird, after working with people, it's like some people on some channels just thrive. I have a client right now, dude, she crushes it on TikTok. It seems like everything she posts, it just works. I don't know. If I post on TikTok, it doesn't seem to work. But on YouTube, I'm not like going super viral on YouTube. We don't need to. The way I think about it is with YouTube, I love YouTube because it's not about going viral. It's about creating great assets, which are your videos, every single week. And if you create for you, for example, you create one really cool vlog style video, but in between you can be teaching. Now I'm building a relationship with you and you're showing me your lifestyle and you keep talking about this whole global citizen thing. And I'm like, what is this? But inside your video, you keep offering that, oh, we have a guide or a video training where we're going to walk you through how to become a global citizen. And then I'm like, okay, I got to go watch this. So I click on the video or the link in your description or on your channel, and I go opt in. I'm on your email list. And then I can find out about the video, which then says like, oh yeah, we have a product or like a community you can join if people just like this. And then you can be inside of this. It's going to be like $50 a month or $20 a month or something like that. And that's a great way to create passive income. So with YouTube, every video you make just lives on forever. Unlike most social media posts, and I'm not saying social media doesn't work. Justin Welsh, for example, he makes like $5 million a year. Like it's insane. And he sells really low ticket products, like $150. He has one now that it's like $800. But for the most part, he was making that money from $150 products, and he crushes it on LinkedIn. So to answer your question, I don't think that it's one channel specifically, but you do need a channel that resonates with you, that you enjoy posting on and consuming. For me, that's YouTube or my podcasts, because I love listening to podcasts and YouTube. I've gotten more savvy with TikTok, mostly because my girlfriend sends me like 100 TikToks a day that we have to go through. But that's a great channel. And yeah, my client, she like barely mentioned her free thing, her lead magnet, and she was getting exposure, and she ended up getting like 100 opt-ins in a month and it's been able to stay pretty consistent with that from like barely even mentioning it. So I'm like, we're building out her program right now, and she's almost done. Hopefully by next week she'll be set up. So we'll put in the marketing materials and everything. We got the funnel all set up. And then I'm like, double down on that, because I'm really curious as to what's going to happen for you. But I guarantee it's going to have this huge flood of traffic into her funnel, and then she'll be able to sell her product passively or semi-passively, because you still have to post,
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I also have found, for me personally, and I know it looks different for every business, but YouTube really drives so many new potential clients, and for me, because of the content and what I talk about, I find long form makes a lot more sense. Short form, it's just like you can barely get any information in there for people who are actually interested about, obtaining an additional residency or citizenship around the globe. But I like the way my partner puts it, because we're both like all over socials, but especially on YouTube. And he kind of phrases it for YouTube in the sense of every video is a soldier, and they're going to work for you for the next 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. They're always going to be there. It's organic. And what I love is that it's searchable, so if somebody for me is searching residency, we're going to have a new video out this week, residency in Guatemala. I now rank for these topics because, it's taken like a year, probably about a year to really build up and have a bunch of videos and content. It's not easy. Like, I have an editor. It costs me money. I don't make that much on YouTube at all. I think that's a big misconception as well. I don't make enough. Like, I definitely spend more than what YouTube pays me for editing, but it's so worth it in my opinion. But without trial and error, and without having done that testing of, okay, Instagram and TikTok and podcasts and YouTube, like what makes the most sense, I would have no idea.
Yeah. I love what you said about soldiers. The way I heard it and what I just mentioned is it's like an employee that works for you, but same thing. When you make a good YouTube video, you've done some research, it's something searchable and it's going to live on forever. That's huge, because it's always working for you. And I have videos from a year ago or multiple years ago that are still growing, and they still bring in leads to my business. And then having a good back end system is what really makes the magic work. Like having, really, honestly, if I could tell you one skill, like funnels are great, but one skill that I would focus on if I were restarting would be copywriting. Hire a copywriter, someone to teach you, learn about it, take courses, read books on copywriting, just learn about copy, because that's the game changer. That was also a huge piece of what I learned about, because I would just write things and I'm like, this isn't actually good, copywriting with formulas or different processes, or getting an eye for copywriting, like swipe copy and stuff like that. It's huge. But that's what makes it work, especially when when people opt in, then you're sending them emails or they land on a sales page. Like, what makes a sales page work? It's good copy. That's what makes it work. You could just have a video and then a little bit of stuff, but even still, any kind of writing on a sales page, it's selling a product. That's all copywriting. It's persuasive writing or salesmanship in print. But when you get good at that, that's what makes the whole system work.
Are you interested in becoming a global citizen and living a lifestyle by design in a country that aligns with you? If this is a lifestyle that you're seeking to create, we can help. Whether it be multiple residencies, citizenships, bank accounts, trust or company formations, we operate in 30 plus of the most tax-friendly jurisdictions around the globe to get you structured properly. Head to the link in the show notes to learn more and to get your global citizen journey underway today. Yeah, I like that you mentioned that. I think not a lot of people talk about social media. Almost nobody talks about having good copy, but
It's
before
huge.
somebody purchases, they're going to be reading. And you can have videos as well, but I think a lot of people are used to reading, and so you need to have some sort of persuasive copy. I'm curious your thoughts with the industry that you're being in and what you help clients with on running ads through social media.
I'm not really an ads guy. I have hired ad agencies with my business, and it didn't do very well, quite frankly. I mean, I remember I would get notifications from Facebook that I spent $300, $400, $500, every other day of my money going into Facebook. And because that's what they told me to do. They're like, crank it up, add some more money to it. But it's like, I didn't even have a good process or system that's working. And I was like, okay, it just takes one client and all this will pay itself back. And every time I would get a call booked, like they kind of sold it to me that I would be getting calls nonstop. But anytime I would, which was kind of once in a while, every other week, it seemed like, it was just like really poor quality. And, like in the first 5 seconds of being on the call, I was like, this isn't even, this is like, what is this? But people who find me on YouTube and then book calls with me, they are amazing. They are stellar because they watch a video and then they binge watch like 10 videos. And I had some guy recently who signed up with me and he was like, yeah, like literally the same thing. I watched 10 of your videos. I just binged them because the first one just really caught me. And you were teaching me stuff that I didn't know, which was awesome. Instead of all these people saying the same stuff, which I thought was great. And he was comparing me when he watching my videos to another guy who is a colleague in my space. And we actually learned from the same mentor. So we teach similar stuff. And he's like 10 times bigger than me in terms of followers, on YouTube. And this guy, Anthony is his name, he ended up following me and opting in and booking a call with me and decided to work with me because my YouTube channel sold him compared to somebody else. So he's comparing me to somebody else, and I ended up selling him through my YouTube channel. But by the time he got on the call, he was just like, he was a good fit, first of all, but he was just like, I'm ready to sign up right now. And I'm like, slow down, Turbo. Let's see if this is actually going to work, But I've gotten way better results from YouTube and the organic approach than running ads. And I just had an interview on my podcast yesterday with a friend of mine, Zach Hesterberg. Super awesome dude. But he's huge on ads. And we were chatting about it. And I asked him, like, what's the difference, between like, ads, organic? When should somebody go for ads? He works with 7-figure businesses, like big time businesses. And what he was saying, which I think makes total sense, is that ads are like nitrous to a car. It's just like a booster that you're going to have. But if you have a really crappy Honda, then putting nitrous on is kind of a waste. It's a waste of money. It's a waste of everything. It's not going to really live up to the potential or boost it very much. But if you have a really cool sports car that's really high performance and it's working on firing on all cylinders, then you add nitrous to that, it's going to be a rocket ship, basically. So with what you're offering and what you're helping people do, if you're really clear on that, and he said, like, if you're making like 6 figures with a good offer and things are working, just organic, then you throw ads on it. That's like putting the nitrous on a sports car. It's working. For me, I didn't do that. I feel like now I am a lot more clear on things. So ads would probably serve me more. But I like the organic approach and using YouTube properly. If you think about it, every video kind of turns into an ad and then it's working for you and driving traffic over to your back end system.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. So on the topic of YouTube, I know we've talked about it a little bit already, but I'm curious being on the platform for quite some time and getting a high volume of your clients, it sounds like, from that platform. I'm curious, what are some tips, tricks, hacks that you would have for somebody who is interested in getting started on YouTube and making that kind of a sales funnel process?
Oh, yeah, there's a lot. So I just got monetized through YouTube, which is pretty cool. But I've been monetized since I had about 200 subscribers. I've been making thousands of dollars each month from YouTube since right about 200 subscribers. But I just got YouTube monetized, like literally yesterday. I woke up to the email, which is cool. So I'll make a little video about some cool stuff related to being monetized and like how much I made through YouTube. But yeah, I've been making money way before that because I use YouTube to get discovered and then take people off of YouTube. And that's where I make the money. So with YouTube, a big influx, one thing to note is that a big, I guess it's been about maybe 8 months. That's where I had like a really big growth curve with my channel because I learned a couple things that have really helped. So it's something I call content hacking. I've taken plenty of YouTube courses and learned from different people, and they talk about like the case study strategy. I've heard it be called, or Russell Brunson calls it with like ads and funnels, funnel hacking. So I just kind of deem the word content hacking, but it's the same thing. And there's this amazing book called Steal Like an Artist by Austin Kleon. And I think any creative person should read that book. It's really interesting, but it helps you if you struggle with imposter syndrome too. Just go over that. But basically, you just find things that work on the platform, and you could do this with TikTok. I had a client actually do this with TikTok, and his video's at 2 million views. Insane. I was like, he's like content hacking. He just did it too. I'm like, okay, cool. But there's certain things if you scroll on YouTube and you start to just pay attention, like I spend a lot of time just in my leisure, just scrolling on YouTube and just seeing thumbnails and titles. Because there's certain things that really start to trend, trending topics or types of videos. For example, if you type into YouTube, and you can see this real time, I quit my job after learning 3 things. If you type that in, you're going to see an insane amount of videos that are basically the same video, and they're all doing well, because that type of content works. If you type in S tier and then put in something you're interested in, like whiskey, for example, Zach told me, he's like, oh, I saw that with whiskey. S tier is like top tier, like the best of the best. For example, actually with you, so here's what you could do. These types of videos just crush it because it's something that's working right now. But you rank different things. So credit experts, they rank different credit cards based on S tier down to D tier. So it goes like S, A, B, C, D, I think is what it is. D is like the bottom. S is above an A. So it's like an A++. So you can do that with like something related to travel and global citizenship, like maybe passports or something. I don't know. Or maybe you talk about different like finances too, and kind of setting up banks or something like that. I think you would crush it. We can talk more about, like, I could show you what I mean at the end of this. But that is a really popular type of video that's really crushing it. So it's like, okay, well, how can I do that for my niche? But it gets even like more granular than that. If you see a type of title or thumbnail that's just really working, just think, how can I do something like that and replicate what's working with that? And it's just modeling. Tony Robbins talked about that, where model success, like success leaves clues. It's the same thing when it comes to YouTube. So a lot of people think that, oh, I just have to make something that I think would be valuable and just make, a thumbnail. But oftentimes a thumbnail sucks. But if you can find a thumbnail in your niche or a different niche that's really working, that's awesome. Go into Canva and you can probably replicate it, in some way. Don't copy it verbatim. That's weird. What I like to do is I make a big list of my quote unquote heroes, as Austin Kleon would call them. And with that, Austin talks about in his book, Kobe Bryant, the late, great Kobe Bryant. So Kobe Bryant actually stole, and he admitted this, that he stole all of his moves from watching tapes of his heroes. The other players, like MJ and these different people. He was like, these are the guys I want to be like. And you'd watch their tapes, he'd try and replicate their moves, but he couldn't do it because of his body type. He just couldn't do the same moves. So he had to adapt the moves to make them his own. Same thing with what we're doing. We're looking at, our heroes. We're making a list of heroes. We're saying, I want to be like this person, because everybody has that. You see YouTube videos or watch creators, and we'd love to be like them. I have my heroes. So I made a Google Doc of a big list of my heroes that are inside of my niche. And what I can do, and I do, is if I'm stuck on content ideas, I'll go into their channel. I'll go onto the main channel, click videos, and then popular. And I have like a whole masterclass on my website where I walk you through like screen shares. But if you do that, you'll be able to see their most popular videos and their entire time being on YouTube. And you can see, like, based on views, by the way. But you can scroll through and be like, oh, that's a great idea. And if they're inside of your niche, sometimes it can kind of work to a detriment just because too many people are talking about one thing, but you can find a certain idea that clearly is working. For example, with YouTube, like how to record a YouTube video on your phone. If you make YouTube content on your phone is big because people are like, I don't have a video camera. How do I make like cool videos with just my phone? That's something that people are looking for, which is why those videos perform well. But if you make that and copy a title and thumbnail from the same creators, it may not get as good of a response. So what you can do is go into, now you found an idea from inside of your niche that clearly works. You can go outside of your niche and look at, like a coffee channel or a gardening channel and find a really good thumbnail and title that could couple with that idea and be like, oh, okay, so that's a good package that I can apply to this thing. And that's going to make me look different against all the other thumbnails. For example, I have a client who's in the credit niche and he was doing this and he ran into that. He's like, so there's this really big thing about what day to pay your credit card on, which is like the 13th of every month. And there's so many like pages and pages of videos where these credit guys have a calendar with a 13 circled on it. It says the best day to pay your credit card. But like everybody's content hacking that same video. And when you start to get aware of this, you see it everywhere and you're like, this is crazy. So he ended up doing that, because he wasn't really thinking about going outside of his niche, but it's one of his top performing videos still out of all of his videos he's been doing for a long time. So it just works. There's certain things that just work. It's about you being able to spot them and then think, how can I do that from what I'm teaching? And then bring you to the table, share your experience, your ideas. Don't just copy people, but there's just things that work. And if you start doing them, they'll start working for you.
That is so interesting. Thank you for sharing those tips. And I think, it is really important. What I like to do, not all the time, but sometimes, is look at people in similar niches, but I don't watch the content. I will look at the thumbnail, look at the title, and then how can you make that your own? For what I talk about, it's personal opinion, but it also is a lot of fact of what the processes look like. So sometimes there's only so much that you can say, but then you can inject, your personal opinion through my experience traveling the world and being to all of these countries. One thing I do want to point out that I think is really important in this conversation, and I want to share some numbers for both of us, if that's okay with you, is that both of us are on YouTube, and clearly a lot of our sales are coming from YouTube, but we don't have crazy audiences. I think when a lot of people probably are listening, they're thinking like minimum 20, 50K. I think this morning, I just checked like 2.6K on YouTube, and I just went to your page, have 1.3, like 1.3 basically. So that's amazing. And I think people get so caught up in like, you have to have big numbers and big views and big subscribers. But if your content is good, I find this is where it differs a lot from long form to short form, because short form, it's like instant gratification. You get a lot of likes and shares and it's like, woohoo. But it may very well not bring in any or many clients. Whereas on YouTube, it's living there forever. And the people, if your video has 300 views, those 300 people are genuinely interested in that topic and willing to dedicate like 5 to 10 minutes, which is a long time, to watch your content. Are you a global citizen or digital nomad? One of the most difficult parts of this lifestyle is not being surrounded with a like-minded community. I've personally struggled with this, and most global citizens have as well. But now there's a simple solution. Fairytrail is the ultimate app for digital nomads, remote workers, and even van lifers. Whether you're a solo traveler, a couple, or a family, Fairytrail helps you connect with like-minded adventurers. 93% of the Fairytrail community are fully remote or aspiring to be. And for being a podcast listener, use the code WorkWealthTravel for a free lifetime membership for a limited time. Download the Fairytrail app today on the App Store or Google Play Store and get connected with your like-minded community worldwide.
Yeah, such a great point too. And it's having a good way to take people off of YouTube. And the way you do that is offer them something that's going to benefit them, which is a lead magnet, is what it's called. So in exchange for their email address, because having YouTube subscribers is great, and TikTok followers, and it can work on TikTok too. But the more people you can get off of it and onto your email list, the better, because like there's a whole thing about TikTok being banned. What if that happens and now you can't post on TikTok anymore and you built your entire following on TikTok and point them only to an Etsy page? Okay, well, now you just lost your entire business basically. But if you had built an email list and then TikTok, you're not allowed to post on there, but now some other TikTok shows up that is whatever, new social media, and that one's crushing it. It's the new TikTok. Then you can look at your email list, which is a smaller audience, but they're dedicated. And you can say, hey, I just made a new account over on blank social media, the new one. Come follow me. And I'll be making content very similar to how I was doing on TikTok because we can't post over there anymore. They'll be like, oh, absolutely. I love that. That's where I found you, and then they come over and subscribe or follow you and engage, etc. So you get to carry that audience over when you have an email list. Plus people who opt in are just more committed than somebody who just watches free content. So by the way, it's really easy to make a good lead magnet. By the way, I took a $2,000 copywriting course and I learned some cool tricks. So when you make a lead magnet, just think, what is a persistent problem that my audience faces and how can I quickly solve that for them with a short PDF or a video? A short PDF or video I add because that's really fast and easy to make. Just make a quick video or a short PDF. It doesn't need to be some massive quiz or massive workshop or anything like that, or webinar or anything. It's just like really quick deliverable. A old coach of mine is a great example. He helps coaches fill up their client roster. So he knows that one of the most persistent problems that every single coach ever experiences, everybody goes through it at some point, is where do I find clients? Where do I go? Where do I look? How do I find people who are interested in what I do? Potential clients. So he made a guide called 21 Ways to Find Potential Clients. So simple. And it's like bullet points. It's literally about 3 or 4 pages long. I think it's 3 pages long. Really short, to the point, and it's awesome. And it's really helpful. And you read through it, and like one example is just like little snippets of ideas. He says, oh, you can go to live events where your audience is hanging out that you would pay for just to go to anyway, because you're probably interested in similar stuff. It's like, oh, so I could go to some creator expo where a ton of creators are that are probably on YouTube, but they're not monetizing YouTube. And now we're starting conversations, and now they're being like, well, you were making money before you even monetized? Like, how'd you do that? Oh, can you help me do that? Oh, let's sit down and chat about it. Now I just created a client. So a good lead magnet is like a potato chip, not the full entree. So it satisfies a part of you, but it also kind of, like, by solving that persistent problem, it creates more problems. Like for him, for example, okay, I found out how to get clients. I went to the live event. Cool. I found potential clients. How do I enroll them? How do I get them into my coaching program? How do I even make a good coaching program? Like, I have so many more questions. Oh, wait, he has a whole program or, coaching process or whatever that I can pay for that's going to teach me all this and fill in the gaps for me. Wow, that's awesome. And then they end up signing up, or they're more likely to. So that's what makes a really good lead magnet. Persistent problem that you quickly solve.
Yeah, I completely agree. And thank you for sharing a little bit of insight about that. One thing I really want to talk about with you on this show is, and I want you to dive into more detail about what this looked like for you, your travels, and the back end. But you went away on a beautiful vacation for a more extended period of time, didn't touch the business, I believe, almost not at all, and still made significant sales. So can you share a little bit more about that and what the back end setup looked like to make that so successful?
Yeah. So I went to Sweden. That was in June of 2023 is when I went. And before that, I would always take my work with me on trips as an entrepreneur. And it's kind of different for you because, like, you live on the road. So I would have to take my work with me, but I have a stationary kind of home office, and 2 weeks, and I have a ton of family out in Sweden. So I was like, well, I want to try something new. I want to not work for the entire 2 weeks and just chill and spend time with my family. That sounds cool to me because I don't want to be working all the time. And I had to think of, like, okay, well, how can I make that work? Because, like, I want to still make money while I'm gone. That's a big piece of it. So I was brainstorming ideas, and at the time I was thinking about creating Kajabi. So I use Kajabi. That's one piece of my business. It's like coaching, Kajabi affiliates, and then courses and programs. Kajabi affiliates, I didn't really have any. And I had some friends and colleagues in the space who were crushing it with Kajabi every single month. So I'm like, okay, how can I do that? And when I noticed content hacking, one of them did 30 days of Kajabi tutorials and were promoting their offer to join for the affiliate program, which was 30-day trial, plus they get a course and some other stuff. And then another guy had 90 days. So I was like, I'm going to do 60 days. It would be Master Kajabi in 60 days or less. And it's still a playlist on my YouTube channel, by the way, and it still works for me. So it was like a behemoth of a project, thinking, okay, I have to make 60 tutorials and schedule them for 60 consecutive days. So I started doing this, and I was just grinding, getting it done before I went on this trip to Sweden. And I finally got it done. And while we were in Sweden, it was like the week before I started posting videos. Like they were just posting nonstop every single day. Every day I was in Sweden, which was great. But I also had been making content with YouTube and everything. Ended up going to Sweden. The end of the story basically is that we took two weeks of chilling out there. I didn't do any work, and I made about $8,000 in that trip. And that came from people signing up as affiliates, some program sales, and also clients signing up while I was gone. But it was all because of me having systems in place that took care of this stuff while I was away. And that was a big thing. So I knew that because what I wanted when I left was I know every day something's working for me, even though I'm not. And that's basically what happened. So yeah, it was amazing. It came back, had new clients, new affiliates, all that kind of stuff. And I got to just chill for 2 weeks, which was great. I came back very recharged, and I just went to Florida, a couple weeks ago, and I was still making sales while I was out there. I didn't do any work, and we were gone for 10 days. So didn't make $8,000, but I still, it's because a big part of that was like clients signing up while I was away, and discovering me from other people's podcasts and like all this kind of stuff. And they worked with me, and then, course sales, all that kind of stuff. So it's just a combination of all those things, but it's because I have a good system in the back end. That's really the sweet spot.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's so amazing. So if you don't mind sharing, what were some of those systems in the back end? I know you use Kajabi and there's a lot to that program, but what were some of those systems in the back end that you already had set up that allowed this to be pretty passive for you while you were away?
Yeah. The lead magnet, for example, you make YouTube content, which is what I like to do. And in the videos, that's where it's like that employee or that soldier, like you mentioned, which I love. But you offer that lead magnet in every video, and that creates this compounding effect, and like verbalize it. It doesn't have to be some huge drawn out pitch, but you just mention like, hey, I have this thing, by the way, if you're really serious about this, you can go pick it up. For example, I'd love to put this down in the show notes just because we're talking about it, but I have a lead magnet, which is great. And it's 50 catchy title formulas that get clicks. So I have my clients literally go through this when they're first starting with content and driving traffic to their system. And you can get it by going to profityourknowledge.com/titles. I'll make sure that Nicole gets it. We can put it down there. But if you are going to start YouTube, now you have a whole year's worth of content, because if you make one good YouTube video each week, this will give you ideas on how to make a good YouTube video. And they're all based on things that are already working. So the whole content hacking thing, boom, they're already in one page for you. So I offer something like that in my videos. And people hear about that, and they keep hearing about that or a different one, and then they opt in. When they opt in, that points them to a thank you page. And on a thank you page, I make them some sort of offer. So right now I have a masterclass that goes into really deep depth, and you'll see that if you opt in for that, there'll be a video from me saying, hey, what's up? Thanks for picking that up. It shows me that you're serious about making content online. Why else would you download it? And to better help you, I have a free masterclass that's my gift to you. We're going to cover how to create great digital products, how to build a system that sells that product for you, and then how to drive traffic to it. When I talk about YouTube and keep it passive, because YouTube's always working for me. And yeah, it's free. Just click the button below, and then you can opt in. People go in, or they click the button below, they go in, and then they can watch the masterclass. And at the end of that, I offer a program. So that's pretty much like really simple, the system. But then I also have a series of emails, because I know not everybody can watch the masterclass right away, or maybe they need to come back to it. So there's a couple more in depth, and it's basically like the email sequence is basically the masterclass, just in written form, because I know not everybody likes to or wants to listen or watch. So they can read the same principles. And I still offer like links to Kajabi inside of that. Because at one point we're talking about the system. I talk about a bunch of different tools you can use, but I share my favorite tool, which is Kajabi. And I'm like, by the way, you can get 30-day free trial, a free course that shows you how to set your business up in that 30 days. And you get a one-on-one coaching call with me where I'll help you, answer any questions you have. Some people sign up just by doing that too. So it's just like this culmination of everything. But yeah, basically, so it's like content, lead magnet, emails, and then that points to some sort of landing page where people can make that next, I guess, leap, or sign up to work with you in some way.
Yeah. Wow. So interesting. This has been a really interesting conversation, James. I definitely didn't expect it to take the turns that it did, but I love it. And I really appreciate you, sharing what has worked for you in the business and what that looks like. So the freebie will definitely be linked below, but where can people find you online if they're interested in learning a little bit more about you and what you're doing?
Yeah. Thanks so much for the time, by the way. And hopefully the curveballs were good curveballs. You can literally find me. Just type into Google Profit Your Knowledge and you will find me. That's it. YouTube will pop up. My podcast will pop up. My website, everything will pop up. Just Profit Your Knowledge and I'll be there.
Awesome. Everything is linked down below. Thank you for being here, James. You've just listened to the Work, Wealth, and Travel podcast. If anything from this episode resonated with you, I would appreciate if you share this podcast on your socials. And of course, be sure to tag me. And don't forget to leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Thank you for joining me on this global citizen journey, and I'll see you in the next episode.